Hey guys, I hope you guys are safe at home in quarantine, but don't forget to subscribe here at Fino Boxing and follow my personal one at Adriana_sports. And guess what? We're gonna knock out this coronavirus. Bah, bah, bah. Hey guys, Adriana Jimenez joined here with world-renowned trainer Robert Garcia. Robert, it's great to see you here in Texas. Well, great big fight tomorrow night, of course, with VERGIL Ortiz taking on the former champ in Maurice Hooker. Talk to me about how excited you are for this opportunity for VERGIL to showcase his talents. You know, they're both from Dallas, so it's a classic Texas showdown. You know, what's going on through your mind on this big fight?
It's great that it's happening here in Dallas. Both from Dallas. It's going to be one of those fights that the fans enjoy. I know the fans want to see Virgil, but now against another local fighter, so now the crowd's probably going to be pretty even. So it's going to be great. It's a great challenge for us too, because going in there against a former champion, it definitely has to be a challenge.
Maurice Hooker obviously comes in with a lot of experience, former champ. He has that crazy 80-inch reach. So when you consider all his skills and everything that he brings to the table, first of all, do you think that this is going to bring out the best in VERGIL Ortiz yet?
I think, look, I think Virgil does his training and his preparations to fight like if he was fighting the best in the world. So Virgil, little by little, fight by fight, the fans are starting to see the media starting to see how good he really is. But I think it's not about one fight. It's not about this fight. I think it's about his whole life, his whole career as a boxer since he was a little kid, raised by his father, senior, to be great at what he does. I think that's the important thing about Virgil. It's not about one fight or this is the Hooker fight, so that's why we have to look impressive. But no, I think it's since day one when he was a kid to now, all the work, the hard work that dad has done. I think that's what's puts him where he's at right now.
At 16-0 and 16 knockouts, everyone's expecting a knockout from VERGIL Ortiz. Is that what you're expecting to see? How do you see the fight playing out?
See, I don't tell Virgil. We don't talk about him going for the knockout. If the knockout comes, it comes. We always say that. Don't go out looking for it, because then a lot of fighters might make mistakes. But I do see the fight ending by knockout. I don't tell Virgil you got to go knock him out, but I do see the fight ending by knockout.
You guys obviously had that experience when Joseramirez fought Maurice Hooker. Do you feel as a trainer you were able to learn a lot of Maurice Hooker and apply it for this fight?
See, one thing I know that Maurice Hooker is a warrior. He's a fighter. He prepares himself to fight. He's always gonna be in great shape. He's got great power, decent power. But when we faced him with Jose, this is the way I compare the fight. Jose is a world champion. Jose is going against, champion against champion to unify the titles, and the fight was pretty close until Jose stopped him. Jose was able to hurt him, and I just see Virgil being a little bit bigger than, way bigger than Jose, and his power is also, Virgil is now fighting at welterweight, so he's much stronger now than Jose is at 140. They're both great fighters. They're both unbelievable. Jose is already, two-time champion, going to hopefully become undisputed. But Virgil's is a little bit stronger, bigger, and stronger than Jose. So I think that's going to be a big difference there.
And we'll talk about Joseramirez in just a moment because I know he's also reaching for greatness very, very soon. But with VERGIL Ortiz, if he's victorious tomorrow night, that makes him surpass Sean Porter in the WBO rankings, making him the mandatory for Terence Crawford. So is this a fight between Terence Crawford and VERGIL Ortiz? Is that something you guys have had conversations about?
We've talked about it already, with the team, the father, everybody. I think that's the fight that will happen before any other champion, because we could go after the WBC, we could go after the IBF, WBA, but we also have to be real. We also have to know that more likely that's not going to happen anytime soon. PBC is doing their own thing with their own champions, their own fighters, and they're doing a great job too. I think Top Rank and Golden Boy Promotions, they have been co-promoting a lot of fights, title fights with each other. So I think it's the fight that more likely will happen, and obviously after after our performance tomorrow, we should make a statement and let them know that we're after Crawford.
Unfortunately, like you mentioned, like a lot of times great fights aren't able to happen because of politics. But do you think, from what you see in Virgil Ortiz and when we hope to see tomorrow night, that he has what it takes to be in the near future like the king of the 147 division?
Look, I think Virgil will be the main guy at welterweight division. He's very young still, so look, it's not like we're rushing him or pushing him to be great now. When we also can't disrespect the welterweight division with Ugas, who's the champion right now, Pacquiao, who's on standby right now as a champion, or the other guys like Porter, Danny Garcia. They're all great fighters. It's a tough division, but I think Virgil has everything to be the name of the welterweight division. Spence and Crawford are the top two guys, but I think Virgil are. I'm not gonna say now, but I want to say a couple fights from now. I think Virgil's ready to compete against those guys.
I mean, like you mentioned, he's only 22. He's only 22, and we're already comparing to these older guys who. Do you feel that Virgil he hasn't even reached his prime?
He hasn't. He hasn't. Right now he's done so well, but at a young age, but still not in his prime. So imagine 3 years from now that he's gonna be unbeatable. This kid's gonna be unbeatable. There's gonna be nobody in the welterweight division that's gonna be able to compete against him. It's just the way it is because I know, people, outside of, on TV or for interviews, people see it and might say, oh, they might be talking too much, but we see it in the gym. It's just the way it is. We see it in the gym. We have him in the gym, and the way he performs, the way he trains, it's never seen before.
Somebody else in the 147 division, Mikey Garcia, your brother. I know he wants to still make history and be a five division world champion. The fight that we keep hearing is it ever going to happen against Manny Pacquiao? Well, first of all, before we talk about the possibility, does that fight still intrigue you?
Well, it's the fight at welterweight. That's the fight that I would really want for Mikey because Mikey's wanted so bad, and Mikey's he still wants to be a five division champion. So that's the fight that we would really like. And lately there's been a lot of talk. That it's been talked about. Officially, there's nothing done yet. There's no signed contract. There's no date. No nothing. But hopefully, it does get finalized. I know we've talked with Mikey. Mike says, either end of May or June, he will fight. Pacquiao or not, Mikey will fight. So we're in the gym. We're training, and he's already been sparring. So if the Pacquiao fight happens, then we're definitely going to jump on it. But if not, then Mikey's going to move on and fight somebody else. But he will fight before the end of June.
How much would that add to Mikey's legacy to be able to not just fight him, but beat Manny Pacquiao?
Well, Pacquiao won't be easy. We've seen Pacquiao still. His last fight, even though it's been 2 years, he beat Keith Thurman, who was a solid welterweight, and Pacquiao beat him. So Pacquiao's still very dangerous. We have to be in great shape. We have to prepare ourselves very well, come up with a good game plan because Pacquiao won't be easy. So I would do, we will do whatever it takes to have Mikey prepared, but it won't be easy. But Mikey's got great power even at welterweight. He's he dropped Jesse Vargas pretty bad and hurt him a couple of times after that. So he showed that he's got the power, and if he lands, he might be able to hurt Pacquiao. But that's not something we would actually look for. We don't want to make mistakes and Pacquiao counter with so much speed because Pacquiao is very fast and very powerful. So we have to fight a very smart fight against Pacquiao.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what the challenges that Manny Pacquiao can present, like his speed, everyone talks about his speed and his angles and what he brings to the table.
Look, Manny's a legend. For me, I think he's the best in the last 30, 40 years. We could talk about so many fighters, but I think Manny Pacquiao's accomplished what nobody else has ever done, and maybe nobody else will ever will. 8 divisions is unheard of. You can't see honestly you can't see that happen, and he accomplished it. So it's something that I don't think it'll ever be matched. So he's got to be the probably I don't want to call him the greatest of all time because there's some great ones out there, but he is up there. Yeah.
And someone who's also making his own accomplishments is, of course, Joseramirez, who's his fight May 22nd against Josh Taylor. You know, talk to me about how special that is for you to be able to guide him into this potential fight to become the potential undisputed champion.
Look, it's gonna be great. Training camp is gonna be unbelievable because we're gonna train like never before. I know Jose is so motivated to become undisputed champion. So it's something that me as a trainer, my team, we have to feel the same way to accomplish that because it would be huge. We know the fight's not easy either. But at that point to become undisputed, then obviously you have to fight the best, and you can't think it's going to be an easy fight because to be undisputed, you have to beat everybody in that division, and Taylor has the other half. So Taylor also wants to make history and wants to become the first in his country to be undisputed. So it's going to be a hell of a fight.
It is. I can't wait for that. What makes Josh Taylor so good? How can he complicate things?
Look, he's first of all he's left-handed. That's one thing that always gives anybody trouble fighting as a lefty. But he also has a great heart. He showed it in his last fight against the fight when he won the tournament. Regis Prograis. Yeah, he stood in front. He exchanged punches. So that tells us, he's not only a great boxer, but he can also sit and trade and exchange and win a fight. So I'm curious, what type of fight he's gonna come against Jose, but whatever it is, we're gonna be prepared.
And I know it's still time, and maybe I shouldn't be asking you, but how do you visualize the victory for Joseramirez?
Well, look, I hate to think ahead of time because I could tell you right now we're gonna win, we're gonna do this, and what if it doesn't happen? Taylor's also a great fighter. I don't want to put things before it is, but I know it would just be huge. It would be huge if you know if that was to happen. I would have to run back to training camp because I think Mikey would probably be fighting the following week or a few weeks after, sometime in June. So I would have to go back to training camp, but it definitely would be huge.
Robert, we're in Dallas, and this morning they announced that Canelo's going to be fighting Billy Joe Saunders here at the AT&T Stadium. I'd like to get your thoughts on this fight. Obviously, Canelo's trying to become undisputed at 168. He has to get through Billy Joe Saunders in a couple months. What do you think about that fight?
Well, I think Canelo's he's improved and gotten so much better in the last few years that he's unbeatable. I don't see anybody beating him at 168. I think he stops Billy Joe Saunders. I think the only fight that'll give him a challenge is Benavidez, but Benavidez doesn't have a title right now, so it would be Billy Joe Saunders and then probably Caleb Plant. I think he becomes undisputed, the first ever Mexican-born undisputed champion. So that's the only way I see it. I don't see anybody else beating Canelo, and there's nobody that could beat Canelo right now at 160 or 68. I think his biggest challenge would be Benavidez at 160. If he ever fights again at 160, probably Charlo. I think those are the two top guys that would probably give him the best challenge, but I still see him beating them.
Why would Benavidez complicate things, or why is he the biggest challenge for Canelo?
I've I've seen Benavidez train in the gym, and he's very fast. He's very tall also, so that's going to be a big difference because Canelo's not very tall. He's like 5'8", 5'9", I believe. So it'll be difficult it'll be interesting to see how Canelo actually cuts the ring or finds his way inside. It'll be challenging for Canelo, but that's why I think. Plus, Benavidez not only has that reach and that height advantage, he also has great speed, great power, and he believes in himself. He's got confidence, and that's very important also. So I think that'll be the biggest challenge for Canelo. I hope to see that fight. I know Canelo's going after the champions to become undisputed, but Benavidez is also very young. So I think that maybe not this year, but hopefully within next year, the year after, we'll see it because it'll be very, very big.
Yeah, hopefully, I know a lot of people. I know Canelo is set for trying to reach the undisputed this year. But hopefully, like you mentioned, next year we can see Canelo, Benavidez.
That's true. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we still see it.
And there's also people want to see about. I mean, we always want to see all these different fights, but they mentioned like Charlo and Benavidez, like all these names mixed up. With Charlo and Benavidez, how do you visualize that one?
That fight could actually happen soon. They both fight for PBC, and they're both talking back and forth with each other instead of going after Canelo, because that's not going to happen. Canelo already has a date, and for September he might fight Caliphan. So between them, it's an easy fight to make. They both fight for PBC. It's a great fight too, because I really like Charlo's skills. Charlo's is a great fighter, tremendous skills, and same thing with Benavidez. You know, Benavidez is very brave, very fast, very strong. So I pick Benavidez because he's just the bigger man. He's going to be a lot bigger. He's fast. I pick Benavidez.
Last question. Talking about big guys, of course, Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. They're finalizing the details on their fight. How do you see that heavyweight matchup? Who comes out on top?
Hopefully it happens, because boxing, the heavyweight division needs this fight. I think it's the biggest fight maybe ever. Even though we've had the Tysons, the Muhammad Ali's, I think this fight could be the biggest heavyweight fight ever. A lot of people have told me that I'm wrong, but I pick Anthony Joshua by decision. I think he's got great skills. There's one thing that a lot of people have told me. Yeah, but he shows that he's afraid to get hit, and I kind of agree. He doesn't like getting hit, but that's why he's gonna box so good and win a decision that it's gonna take him to the win. The fear of getting knocked out, the fear of getting hurt, is gonna make him box and use that jab, the 1-2. Because skills wise, he has tremendous skills. I like his skills. He's big, he's strong, and tremendous boxing skills. So I think he'll use them for 12 rounds to win by decision. I think if he thinks he could stop Fury or win by knockout, then he'll make a mistake and exchange and maybe get caught. But if he fights with that fear to get knocked out, I think that's what's going to help him win the fight.
So were you impressed with his development after obviously the Andy Reese loss, where he was able to beat him in the rematch, and then recently he fought against Pulev, which I'm not sure if you saw the fights, but if you saw them, were you impressed on his improvement?
I did see him, and that's one thing that I seen, especially the rematch with Andy. He got knocked out in the first fight, so everybody could see that he didn't want to get hit. Every time they got close, he would either hold and try to find a way not to get hit. That's why he was able to win the fight, because he not want to get hit. So that's why I think that's the reason that he'll be so much improved from the Andy Reese rematch to the Fury fight. I think he'll be so much better with his boxing skills and speed that would take him to win the decision.
See what happens with that. I just remembered Andy Reese is going to be fighting Chris Arreola. I always imagine after his loss against Anthony Joshua, when they were talking about a fight for him to come back, we were talking about a classic like Mexican heavyweights in LA, and now it seems like it's happening. How do you see that as a nonstop, like just action the whole as long as it lasts?
I think it's going to be an all action fight, because Chris Arreola is also, we say it in Southern California, he's a gangster, so he doesn't care. He's going to go out there to fight. Andy Reese is the same way. I think they're both, Andy Reese is younger and maybe fresher, but Chris has heart. He's got another opportunity, which some people might have thought he's finished, he's done, but he's getting another opportunity. So I'm pretty sure he's training, or he's going to be training like never before, because this is pretty much his last opportunity, and he's got a chance too. It's going to be a fight with nothing but action. I don't even think it ends by knockout. I think it goes the distance, but it's going to be full of action. I think it's going to be a fight where both go out there to fight a great fight and give the fans and people watching on I think it's gonna be pay-per-view, if I'm not mistaken. People watching on pay-per-view, just a great heavyweight fight.
And Chris Arreola has like on his last fight, he set the record for like the most punches in a heavyweight match with like 1,100, 1,200. I don't remember the exact number, but it was. I mean, we're talking crazy numbers for a heavyweight.
Correct, and Andy does, he throws a lot of punches, especially if you're on the inside with him. He also throws a lot of punches per round. So I think it's gonna be probably the fight where two heavyweights, a heavyweight fight, breaks the record on punches thrown in the fight.
He has a new train. Andy has a new trainer in Reynoso. We'll see what improvements he can do.
From what I've seen on pictures, it looks like he's looking really good. His body's looking sharp. It looks like he's cut weight but gained muscle, especially his legs. I think Eddie's doing a great job with him and all of the fighters that he's working with. So I think it's gonna be a great fight. And Chris Arreola, like I told you, he's also in his probably another opportunity. So he's thinking, if I win this one, I get a huge fight. So that's why it has to be a great fight.
We'll see what happens. Robert, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. I can talk to you for hours and hours. I'll let you go for now.
Very much. Thanks for having me.